Heard they arrested one of the Phantom Thieves? No way. I didn't expect him to commit suicide. He's a murderer. He deserved to die. We can finally breathe easy now. Don't understand the mistrust of the pancakes thing. If I know that Morgana can only be understood by people who heard him in the Metaverse, there are two possibilities. Either I wouldn't notice the pancake thing at all, which I did in my playthrough, or if I would never forget it because that is so peculiar. But that's the thing, though, is they were just having a normal conversation, and then Akechi comes in and talks to them for a little bit, and they have another normal conversation, and then he mentions pancakes at the very end, and none of them react to him saying pancakes. No one's just suddenly, like, there's no question mark or, like, gasp or, like, wait a minute. So, the thing that's ridiculous about it is that, that they would pick out the word pancakes so incredibly well. First of all, from their first conversation, in the first conversation, the only one who says the word pancakes is Morgana, yes. However, the fact that they get through that conversation, and then they meet Akechi, and they talk to Akechi, and then Akechi says the word pancakes, and they, like, remember, they are, like, cognizant of the fact that when they had two entire conversations through that entire time, the only person who said pancakes were Morgana and Akechi, is ridiculous. Because they had no reason to be looking out for that or anything like it, and it's just crazy that they would pay attention to the fact that only the cat said pancakes. And that then they would notice, like, as they're going through the conversation, they're thinking, like, when Akechi mentions pancakes, all of them are just suddenly, or at least, like, Joker or Morgana are just like, wait a minute, pancakes? Did someone else say pancakes? Was Morgana the only one who said pancakes? Hold up a second. Who else said pancakes? And then their thought process is, when Akechi 5 months later says, like, I know you're the Phantom Thieves, Akechi does a really good job of putting on a show of, like, the cat can talk? That's insane. And it makes it really obvious. So instead of being like, their thought is, he had to have known because he said pancakes. Instead of that thought process, the thought process that makes by far the most sense is that, oh, well, maybe An or Ryuji or someone also said pancakes, and we just don't remember because it was a really throwaway conversation that we weren't really paying attention to. So that's the thing that's ridiculous about it. The actual logic behind it makes sense because, yeah, Akechi heard the word pancakes. He couldn't have heard Morgana unless he'd been in the Metaverse before. It all fits in the universe. The only thing I'm criticizing is that it is beyond ridiculously insane that they pick up on that and use that to catch him of all things. Especially because they don't react to it at all in any way in the moment. We can finally breathe easy now. He killed himself, huh? Guess we'll never know his motivation. That's totally fair. I just accept it because it would ruin the surprise if they reacted to it immediately. That's also fair. I have two rebuttals to that. First of all, the surprise is absolutely terrible because it's so incredibly beyond obvious that Akechi is the traitor. He's such the obvious, like, oh, dude, this is definitely the traitor. Like, did you see his rank 8 where he says, like, I hate you. I despise everything about you in his super anger voice? So, like, first of all, there's not really all that much of a surprise in the first place, in my opinion. But I still agree with you. Second of all, I also just think it's fine. I accept it. I think it's ridiculous, and I point out it's ridiculous, but I'm not saying, like, oh, dude, this game went from a 10 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 because of the pancakes. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's absolutely insane that this works. Also, my third counterpoint is they could have just come up with something different. They could have written it differently. They could have had more opportunities where, like, Akechi could react to Morgana before, like, someone in chat said, like, I wish that they had put in another scene where Morgana says something specific and then Akechi reacts to it in some way, or something like that, anything along those lines. There are other things they could have done because they wrote the story. They could have just wrote the story slightly differently. And again, I don't think it's a major flaw in the game. I just think it's ridiculous, and I have to point out it's ridiculous when it happens. That's why it's such a big meme where people are just like, Akechi, the pancake boy, because it's so incredibly dumb that this works. But I mean, it's not a major, like, mark or a tally against, like, oh, well, I really like Persona 5, but that pancake thing really just, it really brought it down for me. It doesn't make me like the game any less. I just think it's ridiculous, and I like to say that it's dumb because it's dumb. I'm exhausted. Feels like my consciousness is about to fade away.
Hey, are you alright?
Yeah, I'm coming down from the high. Give me a second.
Don't fall asleep until we reach our destination. Are you listening?
Could this be the effect of the drug wearing off? Memories I thought were gone are starting to come back.
Are you listening?
Yeah, sure. What are we talking about?
You weren't paying attention? Well, I guess I can see how you'd be lost in thought right now. Anyway, we need to talk about how to get out of this situation. Futaba's monitoring of Akechi's phone has confirmed it. He did indeed have an ulterior motive.
It's on a completely different level than just that.
Not only was he trying to frame us, but he was the true culprit behind the mental shutdowns. His offer to assist us was simply a ploy to frame the Phantom Thieves and kill him. If we go into Sis's palace as he suggests, we'll likely be met by a large ambush of police forces.
To think he would be this far gone. I know now what it means to feel a chill down my spine. Furthermore, he wishes to bring a police squad from reality into the palace.
If the 8 of us can enter at once, it's not inconceivable to think a larger group is possible. He may even be able to bring in vehicles or other special pieces of equipment.
Yeah, like an AK-47. A lot of them had guns. Probably weren't AKs, but still.
So, this really was just a setup to shift the blame onto us.
He made us go after Okumura. Then once we triggered the change of heart, he killed him. And he told us he had seen the true culprit, but it was him the entire time.
Well, he might have, like, looked in a mirror or something while he was there, so it could have been the truth.
The whole time he was working with Makoto's sister, he was really just some homicidal maniac. Come on, we gotta take that bastard Akechi down. Isn't that recording we got enough proof to do it?
No. Akechi is merely a tool. His orders come from elsewhere. The grand mastermind behind this all. An unimaginable fiend capable of arranging the murder of a suspect inside of a police station.
Unless we find out who that is, we will continue being targeted even if we defeat Akechi.
But what means do we have of learning his identity?
We'll have to make Akechi say it. Though once we do, that mastermind will likely eliminate us.
I think that will be the case eventually, regardless of whether or not we learn his identity. The only reason it hasn't happened yet is because we're an easy target to blame for his crimes. If he realizes that's no longer possible and abandons that plan, he may opt to kill us immediately.
Damn it. So we don't got a choice but to go with that bastard's suggestion.
But if we go into the palace like we're told, he'll get arrested and then Akechi will kill him.
Palace. The palace. Actually, there's something I'd like to say regarding... Aha! We can use the palace to our advantage!
What's this all of a sudden?
There's a way. A way to get past Akechi and get the mastermind to lay off of us, all while learning his identity.
Really?
You gotta be kidding me.
If he wants to kill the guy, why not let him?
Alright, good plan. Just, you know, Akira's probably a millennial. He's probably down for it.
That is, inside of a palace. Yes, we could have him kill the cognitive version, all the while believing he killed the real one. Yeah, that's it! It seems that's our only option. Listen close, everyone. I have a plan for how we can carry this operation out.
Ever since the death of their teenage leader, the Phantom Thieves have fallen silent. However, the police intend on continuing this investigation until the case is fully solved.
I'm sorry I'm late. I had to finish a few things at work. Where are they?
Waiting upstairs. Go tell them to come on down. I'm gonna fetch him.
You're her sister, correct?
Makoto told me everything.
It's really hard to recognize you without all the cleavage and eyeliner and the spiked necklace and the fancy hat.
Futaba-chan, I'm sorry that I caused you so much trouble this past summer.
It's ancient history now.
Man, that goddamn detective.
Look who's here.
Hey, you big bastard.
How've you been?
You know, I died.
You must be fine if you're joking around like that.
Well, I am quite the Joker.
It truly is a relief to see your face.
I bet that moron Akechi don't even know we tricked him yet.
Yeah, it's gonna take him at least like 4 days to figure it out.
Still, how'd you pull this off? Isn't this guy considered dead?
You weren't told anything? I heard my sister brought him here, though.
Yeah, she came over in a taxi, dumped him off, and told me to keep him safe. It was right after they announced he had died, too. Almost gave me a heart attack.
I didn't have time to explain.
Hey, shouldn't we tell boss what really happened?
Coffee Daddy is all-knowing and is already aware of it, but for the sake of the players watching to get exposition, he will now pretend to not understand what is happening.
We wanted to make our enemy believe the leader of the Phantom Thieves was dead.
What?
What we did was make that enemy kill his fake in the Metaverse.
Oh yes, the Metaverse!
Hold on a sec. Enemy? Fake? What are you talking about?
The true culprit behind all these incidents set us up. Our goal here was to determine their identity.
True culprit? I see. So you guys were going up against someone else.
It was Goro Akechi. You knew beforehand that he was the traitor, didn't you?
Yeah, Akechi said the word pancakes.
Akechi himself gave us the chance to strike back. He made one fatal mistake.
Pancakes.
Couldn't you have just said from the beginning that Akechi was the real culprit?
That wasn't something we could simply bring up. We couldn't have you suspect Akechi. Besides, neither you nor the other investigators would have believed something like that, would you?
True. Akechi was credited with the arrest of the Phantom Thieves. Not even I would think he was the culprit. In other words, you left him alone on purpose. That was a bold move.
God, I can't keep up with any of this stuff. So what was this mistake Akechi made? What did he do?
He slipped up in regards to Morgana's voice.
You mean a cat?
Yes, Morgana can talk.
Sorry. Was that supposed to be a joke?
Well, I am quite the Joker.
Oh, our apologies. That's completely true.
Yeah, the cat can talk.
You surprised?
Does that mean he said something just now as well?
Enjoy your blissful ignorance of not having to listen to it talk. I wish I could go back to how you and Coffee Daddy are.
But you don't understand him, do you? That's how it was for all of us at first, too.
When you're in the Metaverse, Mona talks like a normal person. Once you hear that and your brain realizes he can actually talk, you start to understand him in reality. It's a change in cognition, most likely.
Thanks to Akechi's lame acting, we figured out something was up.
When we talked to Akechi at the school festival, he was acting like he just realized Mona could talk. But we already saw him drop a mega hint about it way earlier.
It is not a mega hint. This is just so ridiculous.
Oh, I know a place. I want to go to that huge pancake-looking place we passed on the way here.
Oh, am I mistaken? I thought I heard something about delicious pancakes.
Mona was the only one who was talking about a pancake.
None of you dumb idiots remembered that, except because the plot said you had to.
That meant Akechi'd already been in the Metaverse by then.
And since he was lying to us about that, we assumed he had a hidden motive behind contacting us.
It seemed odd upon further thought. His reaction to my pancake comment was an honest one, after all.
we got insanely lucky. Like, beyond lucky. You could not imagine how lucky. Also, another point against this whole pancake thing is even if they did realize it at the time, you mean to tell me that they realized that Akechi could hear the cat talk and they didn't immediately try and look into that any further? They didn't try and, like, question Akechi about, like, they didn't, like, try and meet up with Akechi and have Morgana talk again and see if he would react. They were just like, yeah, that one-off was really weird. We'll bring it back up 6 months from now.
That said, we weren't so naive to overlook something like that.
That would not be naive!
That's why we asked Futaba-chan to wiretap his phone. I pretended to be interested in checking the phone out, but I was actually planting my app. My heart was pounding while I was doing it, though.
Even that ace detective could never have imagined a program being installed so quickly.
I can't believe the other most unbelievable thing about this is that Akechi let someone else hold his smartphone without his permission for more than, like, 30 seconds at most. Because, like, especially with all the stuff Akechi does. Like, what if she's just going through his contacts and all that and then calls Shido?
Futaba's quirky nature proved to be a great help.
That was just an act! After a few days of listening, this confirmed his betrayal.
Then I'll guide the police into her palace and have them catch the Phantom Thieves in the act. That would be the only way to arrest them, given their methods. I'll deal with them after that. Let me see. We could say he stole the guard's gun and committed suicide during his imprisonment. How about that?
I love the idea of Futaba going through Akechi's contacts to try and be like, I wonder which one of these contacts is the guy, the one who's the mastermind. And she comes across like, absolute scumbag. Huh, I wonder who that one could be.
Public security questioning will occur on the first day. And with that room, my task will be simple.
Is this for real?
Yes, the guard will be one of ours. We'll have to eliminate him after to destroy the evidence, though.
So they planned to get rid of that guard from the beginning.
Well then, I will make the arrangements the day after the arrest. And thus, the dangerous criminal responsible for the mass mental shutdowns shall end his own life. When he does, you will become a great hero who saved Japan from evil. As will I, of course.
I knew he was acting strangely, but to think he was this far gone.
He's no ace detective. Akechi is the perpetrator behind the mental shutdown crimes. On top of that, there's someone else commanding Akechi. Someone with great authority. So great that they can order an assassination in a police station. That's why we had to make a move before they did.
I see.
We baited Akechi into Sis's palace, making him dispose of our leader's fake, but think he killed him.
Can you elaborate on that in more detail? What exactly happened in my cognitive world?
We're sorry for using you without your permission. Your palace had all the conditions we needed.
What conditions?
First, we required a place inside the cognitive world that was the same as in reality.
That place is based on the real world after all. Anywhere that's not warped looks just like normal.
That's why nobody but the person who uses the nav even realizes they're in the metaverse.
Back with Kamoshida, we came in from the station without even noticing.
That brings back memories.
You totally can't tell the difference if there ain't any distortions around.
We had already investigated Nijima-san's palace when Makoto brought the suggestion to us.
I was seriously impressed by that suggestion. To be honest, I didn't quite understand it, but I went along with it.
I had to trust it. Wait, what idea are we talking about? Ah, whatever.
And it was absolutely the best decision we could have made.
Makoto is normally so calm as well, but once her mind is set, she gets oddly impulsive.
I did have a bit of a rivalry forming with Akechi.
Did you? Why do you think that? Because I didn't see that at all.
But I just couldn't contain myself anymore once you became a target, sis. The reason I joined the Phantom Thieves was to heal your heart, after all.
This is a really, like, touching thing you're saying to your sister right now. Why are you staring at the camera like it's an episode of The Office?
My own achievements were all that mattered to me. I was desperate. I wasn't myself at all. I'm sorry I couldn't see that.
That goes for the both of us.
We heard from Mako-chan that you were going to do the interrogation, Nijima-san.
And regarding its location, I take it you used the data from my laptop?
I'm sorry.
Go on.
There were two things we were able to confirm while we were checking the Metaverse. First, our clothes didn't change when we were down in the interrogation room. Second, the scenery and details outside of the palace proper were the same as in the real world.
Once we heard that from Makoto, we secretly went to check it out without Akechi knowing.
There was also one more thing we absolutely needed to make this work. A perfect cognitive replica of him in the Metaverse's interrogation room.
Since he had yet to be caught, though, there obviously wouldn't be anyone in that room.
Once we saw the casino guests and police officers, we were convinced this would work. They looked no different from actual living people.
After that, we just had to work our way into the palace like usual, while keeping Akechi in the dark.